I would like to call to order the July 14th meeting of CAMPO. Cameron, can I get roll call?
Sorry. Chair Studfield.
Here.
Vice Chair Bagwell. Here. Member Dodson. Here. Member Henderson. Member McQuarrie. Oops.
Here.
Member Schutte.
Here.
Member Noshead. Member Rosenberg.
Here.
A quorum's present.
Thank you. And do we have any public comment?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Okay.
Up there.
Oh, sorry. Not used to having a live body here.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Jacobs. I am the general manager for Jack Jump Around Carson. I represent First Transit. We took over the contract last fall for you guys. Just wanted to introduce myself to you and then also give you a heads up and let you know that a couple things that we do in all of our locations is we engage in community service and community involvement. A couple things we've done so far in the last year is worked with Toys for Tots here. I'm also a Marine veteran, so that one ties closely to myself. We volunteered to drive toys back and forth from the warehouses and to the facilities for sorting. And then also today we have a program called Safe Wheels, and one of our drivers noticed that one of the passengers from the community had a wheelchair that had a broken weld and was a safety issue. So he brought that up to us. We submitted him to our corporate team and they procured a brand new wheelchair for him, which we delivered today. So just wanted to let you know what we do in the area, and we're happy to be here, and I'm really enjoying my time here. And if you have any questions, I'm available at the Jack office during most of the hours.
Wonderful.
It's awesome. Thank you. All right. So item number 4 for possible action, the approval of the minutes from the June 9th, 2021 meeting. Do I have any questions on the minutes of the last meeting?
Nope. I move approval of the minutes of June 9th, 2021 as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Okay. So now for the really fun stuff. For possible action, discussion and possible action regarding the award of $343,604 of Federal Transit Administration Section 5310 program funds to the Carson City Regional Transportation Commission for the purpose of enhancing mobility for seniors and individuals with disabilities. So since Dirk is not here, who's going to present this? Lucia.
I'll take this, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Lucia Maloney, Transportation Manager. I'll be brief on these. These applications went to RTC over, this for 5A, it went last month. There's 4 applications. 2 of those are for the CRISA and the ARPA acts, which have to do with COVID response. So those are pulled out as separate funding amounts and are planned to be used by the JAC system for offsetting operating expenses. The normal apportionment of the 5310 that comes through CAMPO is planned to be used in part for offsetting operational expenses and in part for implementation of that contactless fare payment system that we've discussed previously. There is a note in here as it relates to the proposed motion and the certifications and assurances. I just wanted to note that on the record that any recipients of these FTA funds are required to sign the certifications and assurances, and those have to do with things like equal opportunity, Title VI compliance, DBEs, all the required federal forms. I sign those as my dual hat for RTC and CAMPO for these funds. So awarding to RTC and their application, these 4 applications, they would qualify for that provision. On the back, there are evaluation criteria. These were provided in the call for the funding. The applications we received, that CAMPO received from Jack and RTC, did meet all these, and so staff do recommend award of the funds. I'm happy to go into any additional detail about the applications if you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. Any questions for Lucia? No, then may I call for a motion?
I move to conditionally award RTC the 4 grants if applied for upon successful execution of the FTA required certifications and assurances for dispersal of those funds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving right along. 5B. Get to it here real quick. Discussion and possible action regarding the award of $244,817 of Federal Transit Administration Section 5339A program funds to the Carson City Regional Transportation Commission for the purposes of improving the condition of bus-related facilities. I'm assuming that Lucia is going to take this one as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
For 5B, this is related to the 5339A program funds. This, again, is an apportionment that comes directly to CAMPO every year. Again, same comment related to the certifications and assurances. Jack and RTC are able to sign these. And then as it relates to the evaluation criteria on page 2 of the staff report, the application did meet those criteria. Staff do recommend award for Jack to implement solar lighting at the stops around the fixed route system. With that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Do we have any questions for Lucia? No? Well, we're easy tonight. All right, so may I call for a motion?
I move to conditionally award RTC the grant upon successful execution of the FTA required certifications and assurances for dispersal of those funds.
Motion, do I have a second? Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Oh, I guess I didn't say aye myself, did I? All right, motion carries. All right, and 5C, discussion and possible action regarding a formal amendment to the Carson Area Metropolitan Planning Organization's Federal Fiscal Year 2021 to 2024 Transportation Improvement Program to program 3 new projects supported by $598,065 in Federal Transit Administration funding. Lucia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Had items 5A and 5B not had been approved by CAMPO, staff would have requested no action on 5C. Since those were awarded to Jack in anticipation of those items, this TIP amendment will then go ahead and, should it be approved, it will program that funding into the TIP so that Jack can execute that grant award with FTA, or the awards with FTA. You'll note in here that 3 projects are proposed to be added into the TIP, even though 4 were approved tonight, 5A, and 1 was improved in 5B. That's because the CRISA and the ARPA funds are not required by statute to be entered into the TIP. So we can go ahead and approve those award agreements separately without this action, so that's why they're excluded here. I will also note here that the 14-day public comment period required in the public participation plan, that was open and met. No public comments were received. So with that, staff recommend approval of the amendment. Thank you.
All right. I lost my place. Any questions for Lucia? Wow, zipping right along. Okay, call for a motion.
I move to formally amend CAMPO's federal fiscal year 2021 to 2024 Transportation Improvement Program as presented.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Looks like the motion passes. I lost my,
Non-action items, you're on just item 6.
right. I don't know what I
Do
did
you
with
want to
it, though.
use mine?
Yeah, please, sorry. Thank you. All right, so we're done with that. Lucia, do we have any future agenda items that we need to discuss?
2 updates for CAMPO. Staff has executed the contract to initiate the payment survey, the Carson City payment survey, as part of CAMPO's Unified Planning Work Program. And so that will take place this summer. Once it's completed, Dirk Goring will be back, and he'll give an update and a presentation on the results of that payment survey, likely in October. The other update I wanted to provide related to the Unified Planning Work Program, Work Element 5.0, which was that Williams Street feasibility study, and the funding for that with the supplemental funding agreement that helped offset our normal administrative costs to allow us to hire a grant analyst for CAMPO. That's in the works and moving forward with NDOT. Sandra's been really helpful with that. So we hope to bring that funding agreement back at the August meeting, is me being optimistic. I think we can get there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So do we have any further public comment? Do we have anybody on the phone?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Okay, well, then that's it. Call for adjournment?
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.
Okay. We have to get through both. We can get there.
When do you want to, you want 5:40 or 4:45 to start?
Yeah, just enough
RTC?
time for tomorrow to tell it. to call the Regional Transportation Commission to order. Tamara, may I have a roll call, please?
Chair Bagwell,
Present.
Vice Chair Schudy,
Present.
Commissioner Dodson,
Here.
Commissioner McQuarrie,
Here.
Commissioner Stedfield. A quorum's present.
It works. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to public comment. We're going to start first. Is there any comment on the phone?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Thank you. Do I have any public comment in the audience? Are you here for public comment or waiting for your item? She's ready for her item. Okay, we're going to move on then to approval of the minutes for June 9th. If I don't have any corrections, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the meetings of the minutes of June 9th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes of June 9th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. We're now going to go on to agenda item 5A. Ms. Schudy, this is on safe routes to schools. Ms. Schudy, oh no, not till C. Sorry, not A through. Last time you were at all of them. This time you get to skip a little bit.
I'm picking and choosing.
You're picking and choosing these days. There you go. Kelly, would you like to take us through this, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In May 2021, the RTC approved the cooperative agreement with NDOT to fund Western Nevada Safe Routes to School from July of this year through September 2023. The Western Nevada Safe Routes to School Action Plan was developed to demonstrate and clarify the mission, strategies, goals, performance measures of the program. The action plan begins on packet page 15. The mission of the Western Nevada Safe Routes to School program is to improve the safety and well-being of students, families, and teachers traveling to or from school by foot, bike, or scooter or other mode of active transportation. Western Nevada Safe Routes to School uses the 6 E's strategies adopted from the National Safe Routes to School Partnership, which includes engagement, encouragement, education, engineering, evaluation, and equity to fulfill the mission of the program. My ultimate goal as Western Nevada Safe Routes to School coordinator is to create opportunities to use the 6 E's strategies throughout Carson City, Lyon, Douglas, and Story County schools and communities. This is done through building a network of Western Nevada Safe Routes to School champions that are active and engaged in school communities, and by evaluating the strategies that work and building on those, and producing measurable outcomes to track the benchmarks of the program. I am really looking forward to rebuilding the network of champions. I'm working closely with Muscle Powered and planning to focus advertising for the champions position to those people invested in their bicycling and walking community and parents already invested in their schools. New to Western Nevada Safe Routes to School this grant cycle is the Safe Routes to School Achievement Level Program, located on packet page 29. This program was adapted from a successful achievement level program in Las Vegas led by Tracy Trasdahl. The Achievement Level Program is a guide for how Western Nevada Safe Routes to School engages with schools. It recognizes individual school efforts to improve safe walking and bicycling. It sets expectations for how Western Nevada Safe Routes to School supports a school based on their participation level. It also is an assessment tool, clarifying school contacts, participating activities and events, and encouraging regular travel tallies of how many students walk, bike, or are driven to school. In conclusion, the Western Nevada Safe Routes to School Action Plan will be consistently referred to by the Safe Routes to School coordinator, by the champions, by school contacts, by Western Nevada Safe Routes to School partners like the Sheriff's Office and crossing guards. Performance measures outlined in the plan will be reported to NDOT quarterly. This action plan is an actionable plan, outline, and guide for how the Western Nevada Safe Routes to School program will proceed. And that concludes my comments. I'm happy to take questions or comments.
Does
Thank
any
you.
member have a question?
Thank you for what you do, and I just think it's such a fantastic program, and I'm always about encouraging and promoting walking and riding and, physical activity. Have you found increased numbers of students walking and riding since Safe Routes to Schools started?
The Safe Routes to School program here, the Western Nevada Safe Routes to School program, I don't think has consistent enough data from beginning to now to really evaluate that. Although I will point you to packet page 20, the second graph down. And I was reading this article, and it says that Safe Routes to School programs have been associated with higher rates of walking and biking and lower rates of child injury. And schools with Safe Routes to School programs have higher participation levels in walking and biking to school than schools without those programs. So just by having a Safe Routes to School program that consistently reaches out to schools and says, hey, we're having a bike to school day, we're having a walk to school day, and we're willing to give incentives, reminding them that that's there, allows more participation.
Right. Well, and that's at the age when kids want to be a part of a group and want to be a part of something fun. I just see Safe Route to Schools as it really makes it easy to get on your bike, to run, to walk, and participate. So again, it's a wonderful program, and I thank you for your part in it.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Yes, you have a question?
Oh, I
Go
just,
ahead.
I was noticing the graphs when I was going through the packet, and I remember when I was a kid, I walked or biked, period. And I think that was a function of where we were as a society 50 years ago, 45 years ago. Because one thing I kind of honed in on was the graph that shows how the percentage of people that are driven to school these days is, quadruple what it was back in '69. And I was walking to school in '69. So,
Because it was a one-car household and
no,
somebody went off, you had two cars?
yeah, but I was a latchkey kid. Both
Oh.
my parents worked.
Okay.
But I think a lot of parents these days, they make those sacrifices to drive their kids because they don't trust society necessarily. Because a lot of, you read about kids getting snatched and all that. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
I'd like to look at page 9 of your report, or packet page number 23, and really talk about the activities that you're recommending or looking to expand with your champions. So a walking school bus and a bike train. Can you
love that.
actually, the sentence just doesn't work for me, and I understand it's something specific in the Safe Routes to School wording, but I'd like a little more understanding of that, and especially the walking school buses.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So what are they?
Oh, you're looking for an explanation right now, not just in the document.
No, well,
Gotcha.
I think it's both places in reality, but I think it's important that we really have an understanding of walking school buses. And I recognize that this handles more than Carson City, and I have to keep my thinking cap on to that. But first explain it, and then I'll get to what my specific issue is.
Gotcha. Walking school buses and bike trains refer to groups of children with an associated adult that meet somewhere near a school and then is led to school together as a group. They call it a walking school bus because kids can partner up, hold hands, walk together, and it's an opportunity for kids not only to socialize, but to have less stress, to slow down, to walk to school together. Bike trains is more like a follow the leader where there's an adult leader in the front, an adult leader in the back, depending on how many kids you have. Perhaps you have one on the side as well. And you ride together, supervised, like a train of cars, except it's a train of kids on bikes.
And I have to say, as a retired teacher, I taught at Carson Middle School, and when parents, and it's so nice of parents to drop their kids off at the front door, but it creates a different kind of problem. There's so much congestion, and it's difficult to get in and park, or if there is an emergency, it's difficult to get a vehicle in there. And so I love the idea of the bike trains and walking school buses as well, because it relieves the parking pressure, it relieves the waiting pressure. It's okay to drop your kiddos off a few blocks away and to do it in a way that you feel safe and that, there's an adult, and it's just kind of a enjoyable walk to school. It can be a win-win.
So my question on that is, it makes sense to me that the vehicle traffic that you have, you want to reduce the congestion and things. And maybe I'm just not understanding this correctly, but when I see walking school buses, did you mean parents dropping and 10 kids are walking and meeting a block away from the school? Or, because the word school bus to me meant, are you thinking on changing where school buses drop children? Because I have a feeling that's not going to go over well.
No.
Okay.
And no. I think it's called a walking school bus because when the term was developed and originated, a parent would, from farther away, would walk their child, pick up kids along the way, like a school bus. And then the group will get bigger as they got closer to school and then walk
So
together.
they're not getting on a bus at all is the objective.
There is
They're
no,
walking to school.
it's a group of kids walking together. And a lot of it now is kids are dropped off in a designated, agreed upon place and walk to school together. And oftentimes parents choose to stay with their kids and walk to school together.
It's just a thought, but I certainly would expand the definition and explanation in the document. Just a thought.
Absolutely.
I didn't read it that way. I didn't read it that way at all. I got what you're saying now, but just a thought to look at expanding that so we can give this to more people and try and get some more champions to, volunteer to say, I'm going to walk the kiddos
Yeah, let
to
the document
school.
plant the seed for ideas. And
Yeah.
I even think of walking, I lived by the old hospital on Mountain Street and then walking over to Grace Bordewick or Carson Junior High School. And yeah, a group of kids, we'd walk together. It was just what we did. Didn't know there was a name for it.
That's what I said. I didn't
But
get
we,
this right.
we didn't have an adult driver, so.
We didn't have any adults. We walked to
No,
Corbett
but
School in the
or
old
just
days from where I lived on
for the adult
Volley.
for the walk, but
Yeah.
it was.
Miss
Thank
Lucia,
you.
you had a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to add to Kelly's presentation, they've had a very successful, they call it a Walking Wednesday program in Douglas County as part of Kelly's program, but they've had that for a number of years and it's been very successful. I see a tremendous amount of opportunity for some of these concepts to be really effective at helping mitigate some of that traffic on King Street. In particular, Kelly mentioned that she's looking forward to bringing in more Safe Routes to School champions, and that's the kind of participation, like community-based participation, that can help us kind of cross off two birds with one stone, if you will. And so we see a lot of opportunity there. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, good. Do you have any other comments on this item? Okay, we're going to move on then to agenda item 5B regarding contract 2030033 with LSC Transportation Consultants for the feasibility study that we've talked about on our transit center for Jack. Does any member of the board or Chaz that I can see there, anybody have any questions on this contract? Nobody? Chaz, good. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion. Mr.
I
Dotson?
move to approve the contract as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried unanimously. We're going to move on to agenda item 5C. Ms. Schutte, you have a disclosure, please.
Yes, I do. And this will be for item 5C and 5E. NRS 281A.420 requires me to disclose a conflict of interest and abstain from voting when I have a disqualifying conflict. My nephew is Chris Martinovich, who is employed by Carson City and will be presenting this item. Chris and I are not receiving compensation of any kind directly related to this item or project and are not affected by this item differently from any other resident of Carson City. While I make this disclosure, NRS 281A.420 only requires abstention in clear cases, and I do not believe that the independence of my judgment is materially affected by my familial relationship. Therefore, I do not have a disqualifying conflict and will be voting on this matter.
Thank you so much, Ms. Schutte. Okay, Mr. Martinovich, did you want to talk about the particular projects you're recommending?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Martinovich, Transportation Engineer. Be walking you through our District 4 project selection process. As many of you know, we kind of do this every year to outline our district priorities and which projects we're going to be moving forward with or recommending to be moving forward with. First of all, I want to give some background real quick on the pavement management plan. The pavement management plan was adopted by the Regional Transportation Commission on April 11th, 2018, and really established an efficient and effective method and strategy to maintain roads in Carson City, primarily regional roads, collectors and arterials, not so much on the local roads. It broke out the city into 5 performance districts, which I'll touch on in a moment, and those are implemented on a 5-year rotating schedule. The objectives of the pavement management plan are really to provide predictable use of roadway funding, essentially outlining where we'll be spending money in the city and those projects where we'll be prioritizing in the city, provides improved transparency for the public and for the decision makers on which projects we're going to focus on and how to do that, provides flexibility for other projects, either unplanned or grant opportunity projects. As many of you know, the grant opportunities are only eligible on our regional roads. Local roads are not eligible for federal grant funding. It also provides a target for cost-saving strategies, such as methods to implement utility improvements or combine other elements of our other master plans, such as the ADA transition plan or the regional transportation plan as well. And then lastly, it provides a framework for tracking pavement conditions and under the Pavement Condition Index, PCI, setting performance benchmarks as to how we evaluate pavement and what pavement treatments we should be implementing on our roads, and a better just understanding of the funding needs throughout Carson City. The pavement management plan, I'll just mention real quick, is available on the transportation website at the city, carson.org transportation. The city's 5 performance districts are shown here on the screen in each color. We are in the orange. We'll be talking about the orange color today, performance district number 4, which is planned for construction in the 2022 timeframe. The other districts are shown there. We're moving into construction on a couple of our projects that we've talked about in the past in Performance District 3, those green roads. And next year, we'll be looking to go into Performance District 5. So we just kind of rotate the Performance District one after another. From a schedule standpoint, our anticipated implementation schedule for these prioritized projects listed here on the screen. Throughout the spring, we've been identifying projects and driving and walking the project sites to identify what the scopes of the projects are, project evaluation, including what components, what kind of pavement treatment we're going to do on those projects. So now we're on that project selection and posting item, and that's what we're here to do today, is to get a recommendation on these projects from the RTC. Going forward, we'll be looking at project design through the fall, through the rest of the year, and looking to advertise and bid these projects in the spring and construct next summer of 2022. This is the anticipated schedule. We hope we have a lot of work going on at Public Works right now, and so we're looking to do this. If things should slip a little bit, you know, the schedule may slide back a little bit. But this is our goal, and this is what we're moving forward with at this time. So our goal, what is our project prioritization factors? What do we use to evaluate and select our projects? So essentially, they're listed here on the screen. And one of the main components is that pavement condition index. And it was mentioned during the CAMPO board meeting that we're getting a new update for for those condition of our existing pavement. So that's one of our key metrics in identifying what projects we want to do and what the treatment on those projects is going to be. Is it going to be a slurry seal? Is it going to be a full depth reconstruction? Is it going to be a mill and overlay? Pavement condition index helps us inform that decision. We also look at traffic volumes. We look at crash history of project corridors. We look at the functional classification, being either collector or arterial in this case. We look at the work history, which projects have received work recently, which ones haven't, so we don't just keep continually doing the same road year after year, or every 5 years, I should say. We look at the projects on a bus route. We look at potential utility coordination. Is there an opportunity to do water line replacement or sewer upgrades and things like that? So that factors into our project decision matrix. We look at those other master plans, such as the Safe Routes to School master plan, which identifies a number of potential improvements that we could implement when we're there doing construction, as well as the ADA transition plan. Are there ADA barriers that can be implemented in a particular location? Is there cost efficiencies when doing some of those upgrades along with our pavement preservation projects? So using all those criterias and using the evaluation that we did in the field, we identified 5 projects here shown on the screen. So we have two projects on Curry Street North from the Forest Service parcel to 10th, Curry Street South from Clearview up to Rhodes, which would potentially include some of those side streets like Rhodes and Moses. We're planning to do Solomon Road from Coons Lane to Colorado. We did the rest of Solomon Road from Fairview up to Long Street as part of District 2. So this portion of Solomon Road is in District 4, so we're looking to do that. Silver Sage Drive from Clearview to Colorado. And then lastly is King Street and Kings Canyon Road from Ormsby Boulevard down by the middle school up to the lower Kings Canyon Creek crossing. And that's the limit where the flat project, the Kings Canyon Flat project, ends. So we're looking to see just kind of tying in those two projects together. On a map, just to show these graphically, these are the 5 projects and where they are in District 4. I also want to note that we included the average daily traffic, that's the ADT on the map, as well as the average PCI along that segment. And so you can kind of see the traffic volumes, the daily traffic volumes, as well as that average PCI for those road segments. The individual project scopes and the estimated cost for the projects. So the Curry Street North project is a pavement rehabilitation using a fiber reinforced type 3 modified slurry seal. We've talked at this board, and we've had presentations in the past about using fiber reinforcing in our asphalt paving. And Carson City is also moving forward with doing a fiber reinforced slurry seal at the health department parking lot. So here's an opportunity. We're going to try this potentially try this on Curry Street. And so we're looking to do a little bit more robust slurry seal because of the pavement condition on the Curry Street section up here. The estimated cost of this project is about $148,000. Curry Street South, this road's in relatively good shape. We want to preserve it and maintain its relatively good shape. We want to include Moses Street and Rhodes Street because they're very short sections between Curry Street and Carson Street. While we're there, there's some efficiencies in doing that and preserving that pavement as well. Estimated cost is $261,000. Solomon Road, and we're looking to do another pavement preservation using a Type 3 modified slurry. There's some ADA ramp upgrades and Safe Routes to School components as part of that project, particularly right in front of Sealiger Elementary. And so we'd be looking to make those upgrades, again, those cost efficiencies of making that when we're there in the same time. The estimated cost, $356,000. Silver Sage Drive, another preservation, primarily a Type 3 modified slurry, but there is some potential milling and overlaying just because of the number of patches out there. We're looking to do some additional work, kind of smooth that out and fix some of those degrading patches. The ADA upgrades would primarily be near transit stops. There's a lot of bus stops along this corridor, and so we'd be looking to provide some ADA upgrades at those locations to provide some better connectivity. But the bulk of the project, or a lot of the project cost, is really related to sewer line replacement. There's a need to replace some sewer along Eagle Station Lane and Silver Sage Drive, and so we're kind of coupling those two projects together. So the estimated cost of that with the sewer is $1.365 million. The RTC share for the roadway improvements is $571,000. And lastly, the last project there is the Kings Canyon Road. Again, it's another Type 3 modified slurry preservation project. A little bit of ADA down by the middle school. And so those two elements, those first two bullets, the estimated cost of that is $238,000. We did look at, for scoping purposes, the potential to widen Kings Canyon Road. The flat project is widening Kings Canyon Road to 26 feet. The existing road is 24 feet. So we thought, is there an opportunity while we're doing this performance district to widen that pavement out and get the same section all the way down to Longview? Unfortunately, if you've ever driven that, there's kind of a steep side on this side and a lot of driveways on this side. So it can be done. It's totally feasible. It's just a little bit more earthwork than we would normally see on one of our projects. But the estimated cost for that is $1.02 million to make that 2 feet of pavement in this case. So using all those prioritization factors, taking into those project scopes, we've developed a table here for prioritization summary. I think this is a very similar table to what we've seen in the past. The projects have gone through, we've ranked them, the bottom row there, order of ranking, where Curry Street ranks the top, Kings Canyon Road ranks the lowest. We've also included in this table Colorado Street, not because it's part of the prioritization project process, but because it's part of Transportation District 4. So that's on a separate path. It's got its own separate funding that's already been obligated, but it is part of District 4. We just wanted to note that for this as part of this table. So I'll come back to this table in a second, but I just want to go to the last slide here and talk about the budget for a moment. So when we look at the fiscal year 2022 budget out of the Regional Transportation Fund, available budget is $1.842 million. When we back out other projects and other obligations that have already been encumbered against that amount, we add in 4 of the 5 projects, those 4 being Silver Sage, Solomon Road, and the 2 Curry Streets, we're left with around $109,000. So unfortunately, that's not enough money to do even the base Kings Canyon Road. And so since it was ranked as the 5th priority project, we dropped that one from the list. So we'd be recommending to move forward with the 4 projects, Silver Sage, Solomon, Curry Street North, Curry Street South, as part of the Performance District 4 projects for 2022. I do want to note that there is still a little bit of remaining money, but I want to note that there's a couple of things that still have to be encumbered against that. We have some material testing contracts that have to do. We also like to have a little bit in reserve in case when we get into design, we find some things that maybe we missed and we need to do another ramp or something like that. We have that flexibility. And during bidding, if we get bid prices that come in high, there's a little bit of flexibility there as well. So that's kind of where that amount would be used for. If we still have additional funding, then I think one of the easy solutions is to potentially expand the scope of one of the current projects. Maybe we do another road, maybe we do a couple more ramps, and we use some of that funding on some of our existing projects. So that's where we are on the District 4 projects. I'll go back to this and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Does any member of the commission have a question? None? Chaz?
Yeah, I do, actually. Thank you, Chris. So I understand why King Street came out at the bottom. That makes sense to me, but it is either widening the street and putting a sidewalk in or having a separate multi-use path is part of the Safe Routes to School master plan program. And so I just want to make sure that's still kept on the radar. I'm not sure if there's any sort of potential funding plan for that. Do we apply for grants or what have you? And I'm not talking about the whole bit that was considered in this analysis, but just the bit from where the road narrows west of the school district offices, basically a little way. There's a few houses there up to the long branch subdivision. I mean, it's a real bottleneck because kids cannot walk from the subdivision to the middle school, for example, because, I mean, it really is too dangerous. The road's too narrow and there's no shoulder. So I just like to make sure that that's sort of kept in our minds as we look for potential funding for either Safe Routes to School or district improvements. That was my comment.
And I appreciate that, Commissioner McQuarrie. I think it is still going to be on the radar. We definitely are aware of the area. I do know that it's been targeted for potentially development nearby, and this is one of those things we'd be looking for potentially to get that improvement implemented as part of, should that parcel ever be developed. Additionally, I think we're always looking for opportunities for grant funding, and this is a good area because of the Safe Routes to School, because of the little bit of a bottleneck between a lot of pedestrian activity up at Long Ranch and the school and the pedestrian activity down there, that it could easily be a good candidate for potential grant funding. So yes, it's definitely still on the radar.
Thank you.
So Chris, is this project, trying to remember, our Safe Routes to School had tiers, tier 1, is this project in any of those tiers, or is it considered a road project instead of a Safe Routes to School project?
Are you specifically mentioning the Kings Canyon Road project or the pathway?
Well, either way, how are we going to get it accomplished? You're either going to widen it or you're gonna put a path in, but is it in the Safe Routes to School plan at all for Kings Canyon for this?
Off the top of my head, I honestly don't know if exactly this segment is in the Safe Routes to School plan. I'd have to look. So we can certainly get back to you. I just don't know
Thank
off the
you.
top of my head.
I'm just not remembering it. It doesn't mean it's not there. I'm just like, I don't remember it being there, so thank you.
I do know it is in the Unified Pathways Master Plan, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Dotson?
Chris, I was wondering, this might not be a major concern, but in the introduction sheet here on your report, the one that gets signed off on and moves forward, the Curry Street North project, the description under that title on that cover sheet, the front sheet, is pavement preservation. And in other places, and you described it in your presentation as pavement rehab. And then there's also a note that there are some ADA improvements on that. So it probably ought to be included on this sheet, if that is what, the motion that presumably passes would go forward with.
Okay. Yes, I think the term preservation, rehabilitation, they're very similar, but I certainly see your point, yes.
Okay. And then I did wonder about the Solomon Road project. The pavement condition of that is shown as a 45. And is there a concern at all that with the PCI being so low that the surface preservation treatment isn't going to buy much?
When we walked the corridor, there wasn't a lot of fatigue cracking. The subgrade appears to be pretty good. And so there's just a lot of thermal cracking out there. And those are those cracks that you get that everyone drives across and go clunk, 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 clunk every time. They get larger and larger every year as the oil dries out of the pavement. But there isn't a lot of subgrade issues where the road's starting to rut or to sink in. So I think from a pavement preservation standpoint, we're going to get some benefit out of doing that. Doing it year after year, if this project were to come up 5 years from now or 10 years from now, we're probably looking at a more intensive reconstruction. But I think at this point, we're going to get some benefit out of this.
Yeah, I would agree. I looked at that project and thought that the same. I looked at the Solomon Road compared to Curry Street North, for example, and I think it's in much better shape. So I think you will get some bang for the buck there. Thank you.
Ms. Schutte, did you have a question?
It is, and it's really more of a question for the Performance District. So in the event the Kings Canyon Road project, if it's not included today or if we move forward as presented with the first four, and if monies can be found, does it have to wait for the next rotation, or because it was presented, can it be added to the list?
We would need to vote on it one way or the other. If money
But-
was found, it doesn't mean it couldn't come back this year.
Okay, so it wouldn't
and
need
do
to
it,
be in
but
the
it's
next.
harder because of their whole process of bidding and scoping
Sure.
and all of the other things that comes around on a
And
project,
absolutely.
which is why we're ahead always, trying to be ready for the next year's projects. So,
Okay. It wouldn't necessarily, though, have to wait 5 years?
no,
Okay.
no, if some grant or somebody just, I don't know, wanted to give us $1 million.
That would be awesome.
That would be really awesome.
I will note too that there's, as many of you know, there's a lot of need in Carson City. And so we could pick another road and find a need to preserve it or rehabilitate it, so.
So just for the record then, to clear it up pursuant to even Commissioner Dotson's comments, we're really looking at the first four projects as denoted on slide number 9, right? That's the projects that are being described. So just so that we're all clear, it's the first four on that: pavement rehab, fiber slurry seal, ADA improvements. So that's the proper description, just so that we're all clear on what the project current scoping is. Things could change slightly. Like you said, if you got some more money or the bids just miraculously, yeah, came in lower instead of more expensive. Okay, any other questions? If not, I'm happy to accept a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Dotson.
I move to direct staff to pursue the 4 recommended District 4 projects as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 5D, which is discussion and possible action regarding a determination that Nevada Barricade and Sign Company is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for a 2022 short line striping project to NBSC for a total not to exceed $416,979.75. Does any member of the commission have a question on this contract? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move to award the contract as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the contract. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, please let the record reflect that Ms. Schuete's disclosure on item 5C is replicated on 5E. So 5E, we're going to discuss the NDOT contract and reconstruction. Is there any items on this, Mr. Martinovich, that you need to bring to our attention?
I did note, yes, thank you, Chair. I did note at the end, and I believe it's packet page 191 and 192. Those appear to be duplicate to earlier packet pages. In fact, 192 has already been signed by the wrong RTC commissioner. So I will clarify with NDOT, and those pages should be removed from this agreement.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or issues? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
I'll do it. I move to approve the agreement as presented and to authorize the transportation manager to execute the agreement as well as future amendments regarding extensions of time and changes in funding not exceeding 10% of the present amount.
And with the removal of the duplicate pages.
And with the removal of the duplicate pages.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. We're going to move on to agenda item 6, which is our non-action items. We'll start with Ms. Maloney. Do you have a transportation manager's report?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of updates for this board. First is regarding the school zone signage. We have gone out to bid, staff have gone out to bid for replacement of the school zone signage to adjust as directed by RTC and approved by the Board of Supervisors. We're confident we can get all those signs replaced and installed before the snow flies. So that is moving forward. In the meantime, you'll note that the signs were removed for the Stewart Street Frontier High School school zone to help eliminate some of that confusion for drivers. So that's moved forward a little bit ahead. Staff
Here.
for the
Not
Pioneer
Frontier.
or Frontier for
okay.
Pioneer. Excuse
Pioneer.
Me. Thank
He
you.
said, I'm like, Pioneer.
Um,
That's all right.
Staff are presenting an update on that project to the Carson City School Board on July 27th and to keep them in the loop and get them engaged as well. So I wanted to let you know about that. You may have, the second item is you may have seen, we put out a press release earlier this week regarding staff looking at potential service enhancements for Jump Around Carson Transit. We feel pretty strongly that we can make some enhancements to serve additional stops, provide additional destinations to our residents without increasing the cost of our contract or operations. And so we have some ideas about that, and we're looking to get public input and making sure that we're making the right adjustments and proposing the right adjustments before we bring them back to you here, RTC. So there is a survey to that end that has been developed We've had a number of the public participate in the survey already. We're looking to get responses by the end of the month. The survey is available at ridejack.com. We would love it if you'd participate, and we're looking at those route enhancements there. The third item relates to the Kings Canyon construction project. Chris will talk about this a little bit during the project status update, but that is looking to begin in the next couple weeks. We had our pre-construction meeting, and the team is gearing up to mobilize and get out here and do some really great work. Information has gone out to the residents, and I did want to note to the board as part of this update that we're coordinating closely with the Parks and Open Space Department regarding closures of the waterfall trailhead. That trailhead will be open on the weekends, but closed during the week, and there will be a very small parking area. So notifications will be published, but I wanted to get that information out there. Finally, staff submitted the grant application for the RAISE grant, the federal RAISE grant, which is the latest iteration of like the Tiger grant that we were awarded for South Carson Street. That was submitted on time this Monday. The request was for $9.3 million for the William Street project. In total, we had dozens of support letters from organizations all across the state, a tremendous amount of support, and I know some of you here helped bring in those letters for us. So our chances of those, it's always a long shot, but I feel really confident, and I'm going to continue to be optimistic there. So a lot of staff work, especially Dirk Goring, took the lead for staff, so he gets a lot of the credit if we win. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 6B, which is our street operations activity report. Does any member of the board want to discuss an individual item on the report? Just look at all the work they do. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Then we'll move on to 6C, which is our project status reports. Mr. Martinovich, were you going to give us a quick run through?
I will, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Martinovich, Transportation Engineer. We're running through our projects. The first one here is our South Carson Street Complete Streets project. This one is really finally getting near completion. They're finalizing some signal control and detection systems out there, making sure things are operating and are programmed correctly. We're hoping in the next few weeks. I think they still got to do a little bit of work up at 5th Street at that signal. The next project is the freeway multi-use path to Edmond Sports Complex. This one, we're looking to get the 90% design over to NDOT, and then we complete the environmental clearances. NDOT will then complete the environmental clearances, and we have planned for construction of next summer in 22. Lucia mentioned the Kings Canyon Trailhead Improvement Project, the FLAP project. This one, we did have our pre-construction meeting. They're potentially mobilizing as soon as tomorrow, maybe next week, but there'll be soon to be activity out there. And as Lucia mentioned, there has been some press release, and we're working with the Parks and Open Space Department on some of that language.
And Chris, on this one, just to let you know, I've had quite a bit of discussion with several members of the residences in that area that are quite concerned about the potential time that they're going to be disrupted for travel, getting into their homes. They have quite long driveways, so blocking off their driveways. And so I think it's just important to note that staff and the teams and everything will work diligently to try and mitigate the impact to the local residents in that area. It's a project that's, has to get done, and I don't want it to not be noticed on the record, though, that we recognize there will be, and it's months, right? Is the project a 3-month timeframe?
The target end date is early November.
Right. So again, in advance, I just want to thank those residents. And sorry that it's a project, but just to recognize and ask staff, whatever we can do is helpful.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our Roop Street Rehabilitation Project. This is one of the projects we moved forward for design consultant support services. They have begun design, and they're looking to get 30% design here to us in the next few weeks, with construction anticipated next summer. Northridge Drive Reconstruction Project. This project is fully under construction. They've been working on curb ramps and other concrete items of work out there. They've reached working day, today's working day 31 of 60. So they're about halfway through. Early August, they'll be doing the roadbed modification and the paving. The project is completely on schedule and on budget. It's looking good out there. Our next project is the Long Street project. There's a pre-construction meeting scheduled for tomorrow, and soon work will begin out on Long Street. The project was awarded to Aspen Developers, and so they're looking to do sewer, water, and storm drain, as well as street rehabilitation. There are some supply issues with getting PVC pipe at the moment, so that's why we're a little bit delayed from when it was awarded. The Robinson Area Sewer Project, design has been completed, construction has been advertised, or the project has been advertised for bids, and construction is anticipated to begin probably later this fall, and continue through the winter into the spring of '22. Colorado Street CDBG project, we brought this item to the last RTC in June, and we've been pushing forward with 60% design based on the comments we received. We anticipate having that 60% design in August, potentially early September. I'm thinking we'll be in the August timeframe. We'll get that over to NDOT to review. I do want to note this project was recently awarded a second CDBG grant in the amount of $131,000. So we're applying that to be able to do more ADA and sidewalk enhancements in that corridor. The District 3 Deer Run Road Pavement Preservation Project, along with the next project, the District 3 Clear Creek Road Pavement Preservation Project. These projects were both awarded to SNC at our last board meeting in June. We're looking to schedule construction probably the later part of June or early August, pending approval of NDOT encroachment permits. We don't have any work on NDOT roads, but we have to do traffic control, so we just have to get their permission to put signs out there. So that's kind of what's holding up those items. The next project, the Center Drive Reconstruction Project. This one is another one that we gave to a consultant, NCE. Design has started. They're anticipating 50% design on this in early August, with completion of design by about the end of the year and construction next summer. The 2021 School Zone Sign Project. This is the project Lucia mentioned as well in regards to we opened bids yesterday. So we're working to bring that forward to the RTC for contract approval, probably in August. We have ordered a number of poles and signs and equipment and beacons, and we're waiting for delivery on many of those items. Some of those are long lead items. The poles themselves are 12-week lead items. We ordered them back in May, so we're maybe about halfway through. It just takes time to get some of that equipment. And the last project I'll mention is the District 3 East 5th Street Reconstruction Project. This one was awarded the LPA, or the LPA agreement will be executed following the last item on the RTC's agenda, and we're moving forward into design following approval of that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on these projects or any other projects we're working on. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Nope. Thank you so very much. Okay. Do we have any other communications? I'll start. Does anyone have anything they need to bring up to RTC? Chaz? Nothing? Okay.
No.
Anything, Lucia, left to talk about? No correspondence or staff comments? So going, gone. Okay, is there any final public comment on the phone? We'll start there.
There are no callers at this time.
Okay, then I'll ask in the audience, do I have any final public comment? Okay, seeing none, if there's no objection, we're adjourned. Good job, everyone. Thank you.